What happens at the end? A person is meant to have this new lifestyle, this new beginning, to really change. And I think people are afraid of that. They say, oh, I can't really change. When I speak to someone who's like 75, they go, I'm so old, I can't even begin to think that I can change. But it really depends on one's, thought process. A person can change, and they just start with little habits, and then it comes into something better and more better and more better, and eventually they have changed certain habits to make that into something better. And people can say, well, this is the real me. No, that's not the real you. That's a part of you that you've adopted a bad behavior, and it definitely can be fixed if you want it to be fixed. There's so much more to a person than just certain behaviors they have adapted that people might find funny and silly and cute, that it could really hurt someone. So the Parsha, and of course I'm always thinking, how can this relate to the Jewish woman? And I said, well, it's obvious. Women have 6 powers of speech of the world. There are 7 total. Man has 1. It makes a lot of sense of why they're always seem to be, I can't say always because that's not very nice. I could say they seem to be more distant. Sometimes they seem super logical, and I think if it's super logical, I'm saying maybe it's because they're not as invested in certain situations that a woman can be invested in. Because for a woman, she already has these 6 powers of speech. That means in her whole development, she's constantly processing certain things that a man cannot process. So for her, she's already beyond that. And she's this helper, this guide, this manager of her household, the manager of everyone's world is the woman. And so it's a really big deal. If you imagine back then, if a person's house is not perfect, nowadays we're like, okay, if your lawn is not perfect, your house is not perfect, if you didn't shovel the snow, everyone knows. And imagine if there's saras in someone's house, it's a big deal. If your clothes are not perfectly clean, it's a big deal. If your skin has saras, oh my gosh, I'm not going to work today. So we can't even imagine what they were going through. And back then it was an obvious sign. It wasn't like, oh, you have a little skin something. No. We know. What did you do? Who was it? What happened? So this is something that for a woman is a very, very big deal. Especially the fact that she's micromanaging her house and her household and everything in it. And so she makes this decision to, obviously, back then, she'll make the decision to make sure that her family would try to do everything right. So let's say if her husband had certain habits of maybe he wants to gossip in the synagogue. I don't know, they say men don't gossip, but I can tell you some men perhaps do. Perhaps. And if they're gossiping, maybe they're gossiping a lot, and but it's something I feel, and same as with a person's children, it's something that I feel it's really important that a woman has this huge impact on the world.